Right, so hey everyone and welcome back to another budget photography video. So in my last video I did a review on the EOS 1D Mark IV. And I was thinking maybe I should show you guys what the pictures are like and what they're like to edit. I mean, they're still Canon RAW files, so they're still going to be typical Canon colors and, stuff like that. But what are they like? Let's delve in and we'll have a look, shall we? So, some of these are blown out because I was trying to figure the exposure. So this one here, for example, I wonder if we can bring this back. Let's bring the exposure. Oh, we have, so if I bring in some contrast, we'll lift some shadows and we'll drop the highlights. We'll lift the exposure again. We can bring back about 70, maybe 60% of the sky, which is more than I thought we could. If I underexpose that drastically, yeah, we bring back about 60% of the sky, which is more than I thought we would be able to. So we're not obviously going to be actually editing that one. We will be getting rid of that one and the one next to it. And we're going to pretend they never happened. Now, something that I did speak about in my review was the low light ability. Now, this is all too true because if we scroll down, I've got an underexposed image, not there, just here. And we can see we have an ISO of 100. We're at an f4 and a 1/8000th of a second. Shutter speed is quite quick. Probably shouldn't have had it that quick, but that's not the point. If we go and raise the shadows, bearing in mind, before I do actually, we have an ISO of 100. An ISO of 100. And we lift the shadows and we lift the exposure. At the outset it looks okay, but as soon as you start to zoom in on like the trees and the wall here, it's a grainy mess. Now, yes, we can bring in some noise reduction and some of that and some color noise reduction, but that's not the point. As a whole, the image is okay, but as soon as you start to crop in on the image, if you wanted to, it comes a blurry mess. And it really does show the age of the sensor, which is to really be expected because, as I said, it is an old sensor, it's an old camera. But that's fine. So, let's have a look at another overexposed image. Now, this one I was quite happy with at the time, but I realised after I took it that I had overexposed it with the sun. So let's see what we can do. Let's just bring the exposure back. Yeah, that's a goner. That's gone. We'll leave that. So here's a simple one. Here's my coffee cup. Let's have a look at it. So let's have a look at the settings actually. ISO of 100, 400th of a second at an f4. This is the 24-105 that I'm actually using throughout this test. So it's the same lens. And it's very soft. The images I've noticed are very soft. Very soft. And that's not like this lens. I mean, this lens can be quite soft, but not this soft. Although the bokeh balls are really nice and here in the background. The depth of field is quite distinguished between the background and the foreground. So you can definitely see what is in focus and what isn't in focus. So it's not total garbage, but it could be a lot better. So first of all, let's go and straighten this out a bit. Oh, it can't do it automatically. That's fine. We will just line that up. And I'm going to dump a preset on. Just to... I don't know. Now that is quite nice. Now, I usually actually have a problem with Peter McKinnon's presets because I find their presets are usually too, warm. It's usually like that. But that's kind of okay. Although I think I will bring out... Let's have a look. Yeah. Maybe I'll export a black and white copy of that, actually, because I do quite like that. So we'll just export that. And then I think I will just go into the colour mix and we will sort, well, not sort out, but go into a little bit more detail of, you know, where the colours are and how saturated they are. And there we go. And I am going to actually sharpen this up because it's very, very, you know, especially around the lid, it's hard to actually tell where the background is and where the foreground is actually around the lid. I was wrong earlier on. Here, it's not so bad. Down here, around the actual cup itself, but yeah, around the lid is very soft. So we'll sharpen that up, and I think as well, we will certainly just select one of these. Yes, okay. And I think we'll just go over the lid itself, and I want to sharpen the lid. That's literally all I'm doing. I'm just going to make the lid a little bit sharper. There we go. That looks... It still looks bad, don't get me wrong, but it looks better than it did. So, what else can we have a look at? So we've got some nicely exposed images here. Well, when I say nicely exposed, I mean slightly overexposed. So we've got a really quite high ISO and a 4,000th of a second shutter speed. Let's have a look actually. If I zoom in, the image doesn't look too bad zoomed in, but you can see the effects of that 16 megapixel sensor, that it's not very, well, it's very pixelated. You know, you're not going to be able to zoom in much. You could probably go maybe crop into about that and it still looks kind of okay. So, anyway, let's have a look. Let's drop some highlights, I reckon, actually. Drop the highlights. Maybe we'll drop the exposure a little bit by... Ooh, there we go. And we'll add in some contrast. We'll drop some shadows. Drop the whites. Maybe lift some blacks. And then I'm going to go back into the presets because I have one in mind. Yes, that one. And then the exposure down more. Just like that. And that I really like, so I'm going to export that. So, now that that's exported, we can go on to the next one. So, let's have a look at these slightly underexposed images. What have we got? Let's have a look at the ISO. We've got an ISO of 160, so a nice low ISO, nice slow-ish shutter speed. So we should have quite a bit of detail, hopefully, within this image. Brighten out. It's not a very interesting image. It's just half a tree. There was meant to be a squirrel there, but I missed it. So we'll just kind of make this look how it was supposed to look. There we go. So let's move on to the next image. So we've got this one just here. Now this is basically perfectly exposed. So I don't really need to do much, although I have kind of jumped the gun here and just gone straight to presets rather than looking at the settings, but that's okay for now. So I'm just kind of... There we go. Let's have a look at the settings that I've used. So ISO of 200, nice and low. F4, obviously that's not really going to change. And a 1/50th of a second. So that's probably as slow of a shutter speed as I could get to let in the most amount of light. So let's have a look at the highlights, because I think we could bring some of them back down. There we go. And And we can just straighten that image out a little bit. Guess we'll have to do it on our own. I think that'll be... Yes, there we go. And then... if we add... drop the whites. Drop the blacks a little bit less than that. And there we go. So that looks pretty damn good if you ask me. So again, if we zoom in, we're going to see, you know, the effects of the low resolution image sensor. But it is really obvious, even when you zoom in on this little sign here. I mean, well, it's not really little and it's not even that far away. It's quite close to me, and it's only a green chain walk sign. That's what that top wording says, just, well, at the top of the sign. But it's not actually that far, and, you know, you're not able to zoom in very well. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me in this video. We can see that you can get some decent-ish files out of this camera, but it obviously has its limitations with age. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.